Welcome back to the final game of this week here at the NAL. It's day 2 of the first week, and so far there have been a couple of upsets, there's been some overtime, but mainly the teams that are expected to win are the ones that are coming out on top. So quick reminder, I'm Jeannie, that's Lax, that's Foxe, and we're going to be discussing C9 M80, the game that you specifically said you were looking forward to.
No, absolutely. I'm really excited for this game just because both teams are in a similar pool of M80 striving for that consistency. Cloud9 is striving for that respect. Both teams had great games yesterday. Yes, there was some hiccups on both ends, but for the most majority, it looked really good. So this is the match where they will be tested. They will be able to fine-tune to perfection.
Yeah, C9 specifically was a roster that yesterday going up against Wildcard, we were like, oh, what are we going to be expecting? What can we expect from them considering how, they've been performing before when it came to Reload? And, I mean, yeah.
I think we can expect a lot going forward from what we saw yesterday. I mean, we already spoke upon, we needed to see Packer come alive in this match going forward from what we saw in Reload, and that's exactly what we saw. And not just Packer, all the players across the board, specifically Giddy right here. I mean, he had a wonderful performance yesterday. So on all fronts, Cloud9 is looking significantly better, and this is, again, what we want to see from these teams because, like we obviously highlighted on Packer yesterday, is he was getting into the map. He was getting in, creating space, doing so many things that we just weren't seeing from him in Reload, and if he can continue that trend, continue to find that, continue to make this work for this roster, they are going to look scary.
I mean, right here, Packer jumping off the top ropes, getting a second kill. And obviously, the preparation for C9 coming into this game was phenomenal because, yes, Wildcard had their hindrances in yesterday's match, but C9 came to play. They knew exactly where everything was open. Like you mentioned, Packer would take that position. He would grab that position and give the comfortability to the rest of the team to be able to not have any worries of the flank, not have any worries of an X variable happening. They just had to play their game, and it amplified everybody in the server. But more specifically, it amplified Giddy, a player that is extremely heavily criticized when it comes to online and the way that he plays himself, but he is not a statistics player. He plays for the game. He's been through the T2 bracket for a long time, and finally he's been getting that showing from CL4L to now onto C9, and he's been slowly but surely becoming a face for the team, especially throughout yesterday, because it was proven and shown that if he doesn't have to worry about any X factors, he does his job, he posts up, and when people just walk into him, he's able to close it out.
I was going to say, I mean, you could definitely say Giddy was hitting the gritty after that performance yesterday.
Oh,
I mean, he
gosh.
was looking dominant through and through, 13-7, 136 EPS, 5 multi-kills. I mean, the 3K specifically when he was up playing near K9 grabbing those 3 kills. I mean, that's the confidence that we want to see. But again, like Dream said in the interview, a lot of that confidence is instilled from Packer. And if your leader is going to be leading and having that intensity, that is a great trickling effect for everyone to snowball off of.
100%.
Yeah, but they are going to be going up against M80, and I think, as we heard as well earlier in the interview, Wildcard didn't necessarily show up the way that they wanted to. They have things outside of their control, but M80 looked really solid yesterday, and with the changes that they have in leadership, doubling down on those scrimming hours, I mean, we're expecting great things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, M80, really, it was just another day in the office. There really wasn't too much to dissect from this game outside of M80 just playing the most default game of Siege. They were just playing everything down to a T. They were playing their positions properly. They were rotating properly. They were just playing into the basic fundamentals, and that's what you need from a really good team. And, we talked about in Reload, they look good, they just played the format wrong. Now we're actually seeing them come game day in the NAL. They are doing the exact same thing that we were seeing in Reload. The prep is there, the work is there, the mentality is there. It's just now a matter of consistency. Will we continue to see this trend going forward? And especially with a game against Cloud9, some of you, if you didn't watch Reload, this is a little bit of a grudge match. The last time these two played against each other was during Reload. They won 7-5 against Cloud9 on border. So again, that game was really close. Both these teams are already familiar with one another. Now it's just a matter of, are they going to continue that consistency?
Absolutely. I mean, they had some standout players, obviously. If you were watching yesterday's game, their entry game was almost perfect. Essentially just being able to have the leadership to guide them in behind those drones, constantly getting those kills. And the entry specifically from Diffuser, the rest of the team was always following suit with them. They were doing a phenomenal job at getting those kills and maintaining that advantage.
Yeah, and I love that you talk about Diffuser because him and Gavini in specific were the two best performers from this team as of yesterday. Diffuser, a name that we are obviously very well used to at this point. He came into his rookie year with that Beast Coast roster that ended up winning Manchester. Now he's back with that roster, but then Gavini on the other side of things. I mean, again, 100% cost. There's nothing more you could ask from a player when they're sitting at 100 cost. They are doing everything down to a T, which again, it speaks that into existence. This was just another day in the office for them for yesterday.
And when the entry game is firing on all cylinders like yesterday it was for M80, obviously you have to look at the preparation that comes out. We said Fabian was doubling down on the hours. Obviously they have an amazing IGL with Hot and Cold that's able to guide them in the server, but outside of the server, Fabian has obviously instilled so much confidence in the team, almost become like an idol.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you say outside of the server, because outside of the server, we see just clearly in the back, if you squint your eyes a little bit, if you have trouble seeing, that says Fabian is my daddy. So, I mean, that
Someone
already
clip that as a soundbite, please.
Don't do that.
Please
Clearly, obviously, it's a good, healthy environment there. And I think even for Fabian, he's never been on a roster that probably has this much fun, especially with a player like Kino, that we obviously know kind of like a little brother to us. It's definitely a great dynamic and such a great thing to see, not only for Fabian, but for the guys like Kino and for the rest.
Yeah, and with both of these teams, I mean, showing up yesterday, when we're looking at the map, Vito, I mean, M80 was really good at the fundamentals, so I would like to see them take Cloud9 there and put them to the test as well, considering that, yes, we've seen Cloud9 perform yesterday, but it was against a weaker wild card.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, M80 really won the map ban phase when it came to yesterday. They understand the opponents that they're going up against. So I'd imagine that they're going to take Cloud9 to a map that is going to be very gun skill oriented, because I don't believe that M80 necessarily respects Cloud9's discipline inside the server, and they want to be able to test that. And Console is going to be a perfect place for that, because we just talked about it. Attacking on that map is so difficult just getting inside the building. You can fight them head on. And I'm expecting M80 to do exactly that.
Yeah, and I think where Cloud9 is obviously going to be at the advantage here on defense, they just need to slow down the attack from M80 and have them play into unwinnable positions, be able to play that trade game. But then once you pivot off of that defense and getting into that attack, that's where I'm going to need to see Cloud9 and maybe specifically Packer or someone on that roster finding those gaps and creating that space so they can continue to push through the site and then end up executing.
So when it comes to the C9 M80 matchup, I mean, this is kind of like the one that we expected to be the closest today. When it comes to your predictions, are we gonna agree again? Can we have something a little spicy?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a little different. I mean, you can obviously see from the get-go.
Perfect.
I'm choosing Cloud9 just for the simple fact, if you watch that reload game, it was very close. And then based off yesterday's performance from Cloud9, that was a night and day difference. So I am far more confident in Cloud9's ability than what I was previously.
It'll be a great game regardless, because I agree completely on the shoulders of Packer. If he's able to find those gaps the same way that he did yesterday on Chalet, if he can do it on Consulate, that'll be amazing. That'll be so much character development, because Consulate's way harder to be able to get in the building, way harder to go undetected. So if he can get away with that, I'd be impressed. That being said, my vote's still on M80. They're just the more consistent team at the moment.
Finally, the analysts disagreeing. Maybe our casters can disagree too in terms of who they think is going to be walking away with the final win here on the first week of the NAL, because we got M80 going up against C9.
Well, it's always one thing to have to go up against a major winning team, but technically Cloud9 doesn't need to do that because M80 has never won a major, though 4/5 of the roster have. On an old team that was known as Beast Coast that actually partnered up with Cloud9, the organization, before then finding a new roster. So technically you're not coming into this thinking, oh, we're going to go up against a major winning team, but I am a little hesitant to give Cloud9 some flowers. The community vote was a lot closer than I thought, Jesse. 52% for M80 versus 48% for Cloud9. That is not what I had guessed.
Listen, I mean, the community vote was pretty split. Our analysts were pretty split. And I think it comes down to just the confidence that people have in this Cloud9 squad. They looked really good yesterday. They had some decent showings at reload. Obviously, they didn't exactly go the way that they wanted, but they were in a good spot for that tournament at one point. So this is a team that I think has a lot of potential, and I think whilst they are probably outclassed by M80, M80 should be the favorites in this game. Cloud9 have it in them to win this, and starting defense on Consulate is going to be a huge boon for them as well. This is one of those maps that can lead heavily into one side, so it's good to see them picking that up. Clash, Azami, Ying, and Monty will be our 4 operators taken off the board. A lot of Ying bans today up on this on this map. Again, makes sense how strong she is for that top floor for those rushes that we've been seeing plenty so far today. And then Azami Clash, 2 strongest defenders in the game. No surprise there.
You noticed anything now that we're 2 days in about these operator bans that really stands out to you that maybe you weren't expecting when we first started the NA League?
Anything I haven't been expecting. I think honestly, like the variety that we've seen has been pretty impressive. I kind of was worried that we would see these operator bans really dive into a very strict meta where the same operators get banned over and over again, because you're always just banning for the enemy, you're not banning for yourself. But we've seen quite a variety, and there are some trends that teams tend to follow. Bank attack bans have gotten a little stale already, with Ace Habana being the most common. But I think the thing is, like, even when there is like a really strong duo of operators to ban out, there's so many strong ops in the game right now that like you have to leave something else in, you know? If you're bank attack, for example, you ban out Zombie, sorry, not a Zombie, Habana and Ace. Well, now all shields are still up, so you still have that back and forth to deal with.
Well, today will end as the last 2 maps ended, which is on Consulate 3 times in a row. We did have some good diversity to start the day, but things have gone back to a pretty familiar map for most of these teams. Diffuser will start things off here in this matchup with the opening pick. Down goes Silent. It's always these roaming Valkyries that get pinched so early in the round. I don't know if they're still doing setup, or maybe they're expecting an early pick and they want to be involved in the action. I'm not certain, but I've noticed it's been a recurring problem today.
I mean, I think for Silent's case, he wanted to play aggressive in admin, kind of got found out, and then just an unlucky long angle from the window will take him out. So early man disadvantage from Cloud9, but nothing they can't come back from. We've seen just in the last couple of games how even with the man disadvantage, teams defending on this basement site can walk away with a lot of kills. Right now, all 4 players of Cloud9 are chilling in the basement, and just given their operators, I don't expect them to make any aggressive moves. I think they're going to be quite happy just to sit on their hands and let this push come in, because they've got still the 2-Brow Kaid combo to keep the walls and hatches close if they need. 3 Toxic Babes in the pockets of Packer to stall out a push if it comes around Spiral. You've got Kobe, who might be looking to make a move, but I think in a 4v5, he's not too desperate just yet. On the side of M80, Diffuse Kit is ready to come on out on this garage breach, but they need to be able to do some hard reach before that can come through.
I'm waiting for a call for that Nitro Cell to go off. I don't know if Giddy's explosive was spotted, but it's gone now, so no explosive potential whatsoever. Selma's doubled up on the main wall, will be frozen out by the 2-Brow, who throws that Zoto canister. That's going to give M80 just a bit of pause. An action from Gunner feels like ages ago. We're at the final 40 seconds of the round as M80 from above will assess their options. Diffuser now looking through that same area as he wants to get the wall open as best as is possible. There's no denial that should be present at this point. It looks like they've done a good enough job to open it up, and Gavin will collect one. Gunner will follow up shortly thereafter, and C9 right now not really showing much teeth against their opponents. Giddy and Packer, the last 2 standing. Some cold at the feet of Gavin from above as Gunner now gets dropped. Hot and Cold finding his way into sight with Diffuser. He has to peel off. Diffuser, the player, not the case, is in on the fun. Kino dies at the hands of Packer, and there's a shotgun out as Packer is in hot pursuit, but gets swatted away as he attempts to deal with the execute on site. M80 suffering very little that round, and they're up 1-0.
Great soft breaching coming out in that round. Obviously, they knew they had a lot of time to work with, and they had the full top 2 floors. I think they correctly read into Cloud9 that C9 didn't want to make any moves that would risk their man count going down even lower. So C9 were hunkering in the basement. M80 went fishing, and they came up with 2 big picks. 3, if you include this one from Diffuser. And once they did get into the site, yes, they didn't have every bit of hard breach open. I think the hatch was closed through the entirety of that round, but it didn't matter when they had such a massive man disadvantage. Packer in the clutch, not a whole lot he could do. I'm sure he would love to be able to pull off some big plays as he did yesterday up against his former team of M80, but first round won't be able to deliver.
Just intently to see what type of lineup they want to bring on the attacking side. It's been a bit more static here on Consulate, seeing lots of gridlock, lots of anti-flank. That means either gridlock or nomad or both.
5 seconds to go.
There's a glass being teased, and Kino will lock it in. This was an operator that was banned out in the match we just watched, and it will give you some time to dissect how a glass can be as oppressive as we talked about, immediately looking for spawn peaks, which have become very popular all of a sudden. I'm not sure why they have reared their head again.
Glad's banned in both of the last 2 matches, so this will be the first time that we get to see him on Consulate. With those smokes into a lot of damage, it is going to be an entry in through electrical to get into the basement. Bomb site is piano, don't forget, so this is not going to be a rush to site or anything like that, but an interesting entry point. Could be going to walk up spiral, could full clear basement and then end up walking up the yellow stairs as well. Visa stairs would be the final option, but doesn't really get them close to site. Nobody from Cloud9 playing too close. They already have Visa control, so it's not like they would really need to. This is a cool hold by C9 where they really just have cut off the map at that halfway point where they're holding in front door, they're holding spiral, but they haven't touched Visa or admin side really at all.
Users just waiting for that cross to occur, but Cloud9's not going to give up that first kill as easily as they did in the previous round. Silent can be a big impact player. It's just a matter of whether he gets caught early or not. And again, those Valkyries, they like to roam, they like to do setup. And we've talked to teams in the past where they say, we know that this team favors their slower setup. They like to expand past the site. And because of that, if you are quick to the punch, you can get them while they are still doing setup and are not expecting an early rush. Just a good read. And if you've got a coach or an IGL or even a player who knows that, benefit for it. Cloud9 will not repeat that same mistake again. It's about 1 minute here. So far, these 2 rounds, Jesse, have been very quick.
Yeah, they want to go for a horizontal push, I think with smoke and then planting with the shield, but they don't have a crazy amount of util to stop anybody from denying it from above. Usually a Capitao would be brought to stop that vertical angle through the outside window, but they're relying just on the smokes and for the shield of hot and cold to protect them as they go for this push. It'll be 5 on 5, and no, it won't. Kobe strikes before they can even get into a plant spot. That's massive, even if it gets traded out.
There's that Glaz in action. Hot and down means somebody else grabs the diffuser, and Kino, after getting a kill, will be the one tagged in to deal with this. He's got both smokes available. He'll throw one, and it perfectly cuts off the entry to the bomb site. Dream dies at the hands of diffuser, and they will continue to trade back and forth as Kino picks up his second kill. It leaves Giddy as the last one standing. He had an excellent day yesterday, and he's up top being watched quite intently by M80. Diffuser's the one credited with that kill, and M80 just as good in the second round as they are the first. And you got to see the Glaz show firsthand.
Yeah, super weird round, though, coming out. Never even touched the top floor. Didn't even have util for the top floor. I think Gavin rotated up about halfway through that round and was able to cause a bit of a distraction. But a lot of just vertical picks coming from below on the side of M80. I think that was part of the plan, right? Bring the Glaz, walk into the smoke so that you can then fight back against those angles up above you. I can see the vision as part of that, but as soon as hot and cold died, I was worried that push was going to fumble because it should have been very easy to deny a plant, even in smoke from up above, despite not having like a Warden or a Solus. But they did a really good job of just answering back with those picks. Cloud9 could not find the defuse kit as it was going down inside the smoke, and M80 really did battle back. So yeah, some cool stuff coming out from M80. I'm not sure that was the way they wanted to win that round, but end of the day, they got it done, and that's going to be what matters.
Cloud9 already in trouble early on. I mean, when you combine for 3 kills in 2 rounds, it doesn't really take an award-winning analyst or an award nominated. Have you been nominated?
Nope.
You know, to be able to break that one down. You didn't answer.
I said no.
Oh.
You might have been yapping too loud.
I didn't hear you. Hey. That is hurtful. We are professional yappers. We are paid to yap, and yap we shall.
That's so true.
But no, I mean, C9 just not getting it done. Their roam has not particularly caused M80 much trouble. Not in the first round, and there was very little of it in the second round. M80 was quite adept at being able to suss out these players on Cloud9. They got in the building relatively quickly and never really into imperil or anything along those lines. They were safe, and I mean, safety is the name of the game. When they won their major, M80 were a team that was almost fearless. And I know that seems like maybe a cliche thing to say about these squads, but I mean, you have to know where to go. You have to know your teammates in and out, and you have to know what is and isn't a good read. Right there, Packer getting caught by Gunner as he enters through admin. That's a great read. And again, you can be fearless. You drone that area out, you know you're safe, go on in, push them. Do not let these defenders get set up. M80 has already won 2 rounds on an attacking consulate, when usually you finish your 6th round with just 2 victories. M80's already there, that's quite good.
Nice little Flores usage, caught sight of a Echo drone as well over by top spiral. That's Giddy piloting that around. We've got the return of Sens on this bomb site too. We talked about this last game, but can be really effective pushing through admin to kind of cut off the angle from top spiral. We'll probably see that from Kino later on as this push starts to get underway. Hot and Cold not even close to the building as we're at that minute 20 mark. So really the goal still is to kind of control the admin side of the map. They've got a lot of pressure down below. They've actually entered in through Visa with a lot of their players and are now walking up spiral. So this is a bit of a different look. They might be trying to isolate off meeting and then full push everybody in towards this top spiral position.
Frag grenade out.
Curious what they just took out with that Twitch drone. They were hunting those yokai drones earlier. The Rotero drone was just a little bit too slow for it. M80 striking first, 3 rounds in a row. Jesse, and Hunter has some protection as he's swatted away on the flank by Kobe. M80 now at a numbers disadvantage, but Diffuser very quickly finds 2 kills. Diffuser is 8-0, by the way. Kino will blow up Dream, and Silent will head on over, taking down Kino, and now Diffuser to boot. It's Hotton and Silent in a 1v1, and look at what happens when he's able to exist for longer than just a couple seconds. Silent is on a single point of HP, and he knows relatively well where Hotton is. He'll approach, Hotton hears him, but immediately dives out the window, and Silent will go on for the counter disable. Hotton may not know this. Under repel he goes, and it's enough to scare Silent off of this position. He'll now need to figure out what the next steps are. Looking for an exit onto the balcony, but the breach is still intact, so he is tucked into the corner and has to hope that Hotton doesn't see him. Off the wire he goes, plenty of time. If he wins this engagement, he can easily counter disable. He'll try for a 3rd attempt, but Hot and Cold is just too good, and it's 3 in a row for M80, well ahead of where they should be as attackers on a defender-sided map.
Feels bad for Silent, man. I feel like if he had just jumped out the window, probably could have killed Houghton. May have had time to get back. I think he would have to get the disable in time. He was also convinced Houghton was going to be on repel above him, which is where most people go, but Houghton was playing it quite down below. Also, just think if Silent stuck it, he might have had a chance, but it's really tough, especially when you're on just 1 HP. Silent was negative in every single match that Cloud9 played at the Reload event until the final game that they played, which of course was against M80, where he went +5. He was the #1 player on his team in that matchup. So Silent, the last time these 2 teams met up, was the real MVP for Cloud9. It wasn't enough to get them the win. Not that I think they cared so much. That was primarily an irrelevant game for both teams. I think the stakes of that match were M80 needed to win 7-0, and they lost 3rd or 4th rounds. And from there, it kind of devolved. But even still, sometimes familiarity with your opponent, sometimes there's specific players that you're just particularly good at gunning down. And so if that exists on M80 for Silent, then that could be huge. Got to find something, though, and that'll be the goal of this TAC timeout. Anything to get this game going, because if you do not at least tie and you'd like to win the defensive half, it's going to be really rough for you in that second half.
Did not know that stat about Silent being negative in all of the matches. That's not, obviously not great, but I mean, you...
All right, negative or even. I think he went even for 1 game. I should say that.
I mean, you look at the players on C9, and I mean, Silent is the type of guy who, in his role, he should not be going negative. I mean, you've got a big supporting cast, right? Dream and Packer play support a lot. Packer flexes onto positions where he is engaged in fights, but I mean, like, you're looking at Kobe and Silent with sometimes Packer or Giddy as the next in line for most frags on the team. There is an awful lot of support players on this Cloud9 team, or players who are more skilled in playing flex support, which in theory should be good. I mean, you would have a more flexible team that can swap off and juggle roles. The problem is that if you do not have a dedicated top tier fragger, you're going to struggle to get those kills in the big moments. Giddy was the man to do that yesterday. So far, he is tied with Silent and Kobe Lax with 2 kills and 3 deaths. That's not really going to cut it through 3 rounds. You'll have to look for a bounce back. That's why you call a timeout. Try to settle the team.
That'll do.
I think that'll do it. Silent somehow gets a two-piece, and both Gunner and Diffuser are dead, and we are 10 seconds into this round.
That is incredible. I assume it must have been a spawn peak that was so early in the round. I was, frankly, looking at my statistics, so I wasn't 100% eye on the ball for this, but big play by Silent. Currently positive, as he was negative before that round, so trying to keep that stat line up into the right direction up against M80. Without two of their players, Parker, they're just going to full send to the site.
Gavin with 1 kill. M80 looking for more. I love the Uzi charms being run by all of these players. Such great respect to them. Or to Uzi, rather. Yeah, these support players still left. Packer and Dream, who'll be calling from far enough back. Kobilax throwing down those goo mines just to halt the advances of M80 as they get ever closer. Silent might be retrievable. I'm unsure if they'll dispatch somebody to get him up off the ground. It would be a boon for Cloud9. Instead, Gavin dies at the hands of Packer, and now he sweeps over to secure the downed player. Hot and Cold is the last one standing. That was Kino that was bleeding out over by the car. Otten won the previous round in a clutch. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it here. He's got to suss out where Packer and Kobe are. He knows that Packer's down in the corner, and Packer is prepared and waiting for it. Cloud9 get on the board. It's not a pretty round, but it's a round win nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they were put in a really rough spot at the start, right? I mean, M80, you lose 2 players immediately. One of those was your Buck. The other was, I believe, the Striker. So you lose 2 important operators, especially when it comes to the top-down destruction, right? A lot of those vertical picks. That's what was so good for M80 in the first round when they won that bomb site, was the vertical presence. You lose 2 operators that have a lot of soft destruction, and I assume it was Hot and Cold, the captain of this team, who said, screw it, we're already down 3v5. We know there's a guy top floor in admin. Let's just go hit the site. So Kino ran on in with the blitz, but just didn't find anybody. You know, I thought Cloud9 and the site did a good job of recognizing what had happened in 3 yellow, so they all reined things in, they pulled things back, lost a couple of players there, got down to a 3v3, but by the time M80 were really able to establish themselves inside Garage, Cloud9 had primarily fallen back. And Hot and Cold, if he was the one to call that, was also kind of disconnected from the rest of that push. He had to take a little bit of time to kind of rotate over to yellow where his team was well after they'd kind of made their entry into the site. So, you know, obviously a tough situation. Wasn't the game plan going into that round. They did their best to adapt, but wasn't quite enough. And a good round from Cloud9. Maybe a bit of an easier round thanks to Silent, but a round nonetheless.
Yeah. I'm very curious what would have happened if Silent hadn't gotten that 2-piece right off at the beginning. But I mean, it obviously doesn't bode well for a team as they look to go deeper into this when on the preferable side, they still have such big struggles. I mean, your only round victory comes from a rather Herculean effort from Silent in the beginning moments, then followed up with a real scrappy and ugly execute that came from over on yellow side. Cloud9 need to be a bit more confident, and they also just need to be a bit more coordinated with one another, because if that previous round is to happen again, I don't necessarily think Cloud9 will come out on the right side of it. Who knows? Lightning does strike the same spot twice, entirely possible. Dream still searching for his first kill. He's going to go with Tachanka. He'll be one of the main support players, and I don't know if that was Packer actually taking some damage from his own teammate or not, but the very default plant spot was lit up by the Tachanka, and nobody's there to take any damage on the side of M80.
A response to the smoke ban, of course. That's the operator Dream played in round 3 when they were last on this bomb site. So very common to see a player flex over to Tachanka after the smoke gets banned out. And this is probably Tachanka's best site in Siege anyways. So you're not feeling too bad if you're Dream. Lots of ability to deny that immediate jump in. Hot and Cold diffuser here. So it's very obvious that they are planning to make their move. One flash goes out. Is that a real prompt for the push? I'd be shocked. Otten's planting, though.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be happening under the cover of darkness. A botched Molotov as Dream's attention is elsewhere, distracted by the gridlock of Gunners. Gavin gets on the board first, and the plant goes down successfully while all 10 players are still alive. This is something that doesn't happen all that often. Thrilling when it does. Packer, the lone casualty, still 15 seconds have elapsed on this diffuser. Gavin finds his second kill, this time onto Dream. Gavin's punished for it. Kobe with the drop, as all these players have now scrambled out of their positions. Somebody will have to get on the case quickly. Kobe has the daunting task of vaulting out. Nobody biting at the moment, and an upside down rappel from Houghton will find Kobe if he decides that he needs to go for the jump. which, by the way, he does. No way to get on that diffuser in time. Silent standing alone as Giddy is dropped, meaning get some kills. Why not? Pad your stats or simply stay alive. M80 answers back with a victory. This one a lot cleaner. Hot and Cold gets in, gets diffuser down. The rest of M80 distracting the defenders to the point where nobody on the defense was wise enough to check the default plant spot. M80 4-1 through this first half, and they're doing it on attack.
I feel so bad for Dream. Hot and Cold repelled in, obviously. There's a lot of sounds going on, so you couldn't exactly hear that the kit was being put on the ground. But Dream had used a Shamika launcher to throw fire onto the plant spot. He fired off a Shamika right as Houghton was repelling into the bomb site, but he missed. It just didn't go in far enough. Houghton tucked himself right up to the corner of the bookshelf, and the fire wasn't spreading far enough to actually hit him. So I think Cloud9 thought they had that plant covered. They thought there could be nobody planting because we've got it covered with fire. But in reality, just a slight misplay by Dream means that it was open and free to plant for M80. They also had Packer going down below, who could have denied it from below if he wasn't being killed by Gaveni. So it's, I think, clear that M80 kind of thought of everything in that push. They had players down below to stop that sort of denial, and then maybe a bit of a lucky break with that Tachanka missing. But I think the idea was just, we're going to hop in, Tachanka's going to waste his utility, and we're going to hop back out. Didn't need to hop back out. Hot and happy to keep holding F.
That's your favorite bomb site in the whole game, isn't it? You talk about this.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. Yeah.
How fun was that round? Give me a funness out of 10.
That was like an 8 out of 10 fun round, because you've got the Tachanka, a rare operator to get picked, and then it gets slightly misplayed, which one little mistake causes the round. I think that's quite fun.
Track sting is active.
We got a fun match so far.
Not as fun as the Amaru rushes we saw in the last two maps, though, on this site, I will say.
I don't even, like, they weren't even particularly good.
Yeah, but Amaru rush through meeting window, it just hits for me. I don't know what to tell you.
You should let M80 know so that when they go to attack in a couple days. Thought Gavin was a little confused for a second there as to what Houghton was doing, and I was like, you think he's an intruder? Like, oh, he's going up the stairs. Look at them completely distracting to try and think that the plant is going down, and now there will be some quiet as they go up top. Silent with the very first kill. C9 has not struck first all that much. When it has happened, it's been Silent to do it, and he will continue with that trend. He pays for it dearly as Diffuser punishes him. That was, I believe, inside a bathroom. Now Kobilax has been shaken off of his position also upstairs. M80 was very brisk with their pace, and they have cleared out the top floor of this map as best as they can. All three remaining players on Cloud9 are now in the main floor of Consulate. They're meeting up, synchronizing their watches around the bomb site. Just a little over a minute to go.
And not exactly where you'd like to be honest. Top floor is kind of key when it comes to this bomb site, but you can get good denial vertically or horizontally, especially if you're rocking with that C4 like Packer is. Kino up above, probably going to drop the hatch to go for the plant. Could also walk down yellow if he wants.
Hear that nade go out. You can't pin it for very long. Oh my goodness. What a massacre as Packer is ready for that, but Gunner hops on in. Dream finds his first kill of the round and of the match, and it's a highly impactful one. If he loses that 50-50, it's a 5-1 scoreline, and M80 have all but run away with this match. M80 are still in a great spot, make no mistake about it, and they will go on to the stronger side with a lead, which is bad news for Cloud9. But crazy things have happened in the past, and we will take a brief pause as operator bans come in. Ying and Azami, the first one's removed. More operator bans to come. Any predictions here?
Let's go for a Clash and Blitz. How does he do it? How does he do it? My goodness.
Take a bow.
Thank you. I was not confident on the Blitz, but sometimes you get lucky.
Did you take a bow?
I did. Did you not see it?
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
The audience probably saw it. It's fine.
We are not on camera. We are on camera for roughly 3 seconds. 5 times a day.
It's okay. Listen, that's probably the most amount that anybody is allowed to look at your face, Parker. It's probably for the
You
best
really know
safety
how
of
you really
everyone
know
else.
your way to a little boy's heart here. Hey, I'm swooning at your nice words. Thanks so much. You really know how to compliment me.
Anytime, buddy. Anytime.
Thanks. Just as an aside, Jesse was messaging me about something unrelated a couple days ago, and he was being infuriating by deliberately misunderstanding the things I was saying, and I called him an idiot, and he said, I just want to let you know how much I enjoy talking to you, and I said, I don't.
It's so much fun, you and I, when we have these conversations. I'm always enjoying it, Parker.
I'm not. So, I thought I was free of you earlier when I had to solo cast the one round, but
well,
alas.
Diffuser's having a good time, Parker. He's 9-3 at the moment.
Just like Palpatine, somehow you returned. There are a whole host of Star Wars fans that are going to be super mad about what I just said because they're reminded of that awful movie. So, talk about Diffuser. Talk about Diffuser being 9-3. I think he was 8-0, was he, before he was shut down?
Yeah, he had a really good start to this game. Good start to his career, as he was the Rookie of the Year in 2024 in the last year 9 of Siege. So a big player that you expect big things from, and he's not letting down the fans of M80 in this matchup. Top floor roam is going to be mostly just him and Gavin, so those two really need to step up big. With Packer being on the Blackbeard, it's not going to be an easy task. They're just going to mostly give him some space, I think. Diffuser, Gavin's already fallen off. Diffuser falls off next. Sometimes you hear a Blackbeard and you just say, nah, nah, I won't.
I was going to say, like, you hear any shield and you think, I shouldn't be here. I'm in danger. So,
Yeah.
Ram and Operator, very popular on this map, as most of the floors overlooking the bomb sites are made of wood and therefore are destructible, and Kino gets spotted by Packer. Where was Kino looking? I think he was on cams. And now Packer is just inside the bomb site with the Diffuser. What a flick to defang the push from Hot and Cold. Dream clobbering Diffuser, and now Hot and Cold dies in the hands of Kobe Lax. 3 separate players on C9 all in on it. Silent gets one too. Giddy needs a kill for the team ace. It won't be had. Silent picks up his second, but a flawless start to the second half. This could have been 5-1 going into the second half. Now it's 4-3. The gap between these two teams has shrunk immeasurably in very short order. And it's C9 doing it on attack. Are we just looking at an attacker-sided consulate, Jesse?
With these two teams, it honestly might be. I mean, M80 dropped Packer just a few months ago in order to pick up Hot and Cold. They had a bit of an engagement down in the bottom floor where I thought Hot and Cold was surely gonna slam Packer. Didn't seem to have any idea that he was over towards that electrical hallway, but the flick around made it really awkward, and then Kobe just runs on in and grabs his free pick. That was really well coordinated by the guys of C9, excuse me. I really just like how quickly they were able to go from the top floor down to the basement. When Packer got that opening pick, it took me a second. I was like, wait, was he not just on the top floor chasing down Diffuser? And he was, but they made that move through the mid floor very, very quick. And I think it caught it caught M80 off guard just as much as it caught me.
Maybe it caught Cloud9 off guard too. You have no idea.
You're right. Maybe Cloud9's push caught them off guard.
Thank
Maybe
you.
Packer was so quick with it that his whole team was like, whoa.
Whoa, what?
You know, he's back on the Blackbeard. I would expect a Blackbeard ban out of M80 once we get there. Might not end up happening if he doesn't have a good next couple of rounds, but already you're seeing the threat from this. Usually at Reload, we saw so many shield bans on Consulate, and today it's been a lot of Glaz, a lot of Ying, some weird bans. These shields have really crept through the ban phase more than you'd expect, and some players, most notably Packer, have really been taking advantage of that.
Drones up and running.
I mean, shields are still strong. I mean, I don't know why teams don't prioritize them more, but at the same time, not every team does actively play shields. There's been good conversations that have been had about how every team does benefit from having one player comfortable on that role. You hear the telltale signs of the T5, and Silent is off to the races. C9 are making their own luck. They are quick to the punch, and are racing to the bomb site, catching M80 off guard, and Cloud9 are poised very well to tie this game, Jesse.
Yeah, not sure if they expected Silent to get in so quickly. He was on that sledge, so he might have been able to muffle his entry a little bit. If he broke the window with the sledgehammer, should have still heard the rappel, but did enough from Silent. His entry's been quite good today, both on the offense and on the defense. There's an oddly placed Goyo canister as well that didn't do any favors to Diffuser as it got popped by Silent right after that opening pick. So now with a man disadvantage, now with an even man count, M80 will have to hold off this push.
Silent takes down Kino. Silent has been heating up. We said that, he's either been negative or even, and now he's 9-4. At the time, he was 2-3. Diffuser is keeping this one together for his team. Everybody on M80 is so low on HP. Kobe could finish them off, but no. Hodden's expression is exactly how I feel. What a stunning round that should have very easily been won by C9. But instead, it's M80 holding strong, holding it together, and holding on for dear hope sometimes. If they can slow down Cloud9's entry to the map, they'll be really well poised to close out this map entirely. They regain a 2-round lead.
Yeah, big round from Gavin in those late moments, just being able to pop off, know exactly where he's getting pushed from at all times. It was a bit of an awkward, chaotic push. They almost had the man advantage when they went for it on Cloud9, but weren't able to hold on to it. Opening picks don't mean everything. That was a beautiful shot from Diffuser, and with the pistol too, my goodness. Just angles that I don't think Cloud9 were really expecting. And we talked him up right before that round, the Rookie of the Year last year, Diffuser, showing exactly why he earns that title. Do not forget, this core of M80, they were major champions. Probably the best North American team last year.
10 seconds left.
There's a damn good reason for it.
I almost forgot. Thanks for reminding me.
5 seconds
You're welcome,
remaining.
Parker and Terabang McGee.
Attackers
I mean, you
rejected
said Parker
the
right. I guess 1 out of 3 ain't bad. So
Would you like
take
a
it.
fun fact for this map, Parker?
go on.
M80 have a 7-0 record on Consulate in organization history. The org has never lost this map.
That is actually a fun fact.
Of course, they've had many different rosters, and at SI, when they had 3 fists, they were still 2-0. They got a 7-3 over Liquid, 7-1 over Jewel, but they are barreling towards an 8-0 record if they can keep this up.
Set to blow it up.
That breakneck pace that was established by Cloud9 just a couple rounds ago is absent at the moment, but there's still plenty of time for them to go for the drop over from that server's hatch that's now been opened up in Visa. Logic bombs go off. Good news for M80. There are, once again, new jammers to protect you from Lion scans, Dokkaebi calls, whatever other annoyances want to come your way. Lion is not on the board at the moment, so you just have to deal with those logic bombs, one of which has already been used. Kobe is about 20 seconds away, 10, 15 seconds away from getting the second logic bomb.
Attackers have located the bomb.
Cloud9's fearlessness, something that we complimented M80 about. Did them well those 2 rounds. Did not net them the round victory in the previous round, though they seem to have the building blocks there. They just couldn't put it all together. This one, a little bit slower. Will they have better success?
A really cool Electro Claw. Might be
I
a
like
little
that
bit
very
better.
much.
Might like dodge impact EMPs a little bit better, you know? Already quite difficult to hit an Electro Claw on a hatch like that with no soft floors, but there you go.
They're just hunting now, looking for a pick. As Silent is dropped, Kobe will join. M80 desperately want to get out of this matchup in the right direction, especially after the heat that Cloud9 has brought to them. Packer on very low HP. Kobe Lax is retrievable. Just depends on whether C9 sends a player over in that direction. They will, and Giddy bringing him back to life puts M80 and Cloud9 on the same footing in a 3v3. Time in a good spot for both of these teams. 40 seconds left.
Yeah, a bunch of flashes on Cloud9, no smokes to try to make this plant happen, and Hot
Oh
and
my.
Cold just burns Kobe, who was on a drone standing in a Goyo canister. Not ideal. Now it'll be
No.
a man disadvantage push as Packer and Giddy try to group up over towards the server side of this map.
Packer has the diffuser, and he happens to be on the lower point of HP, which is especially bad. If he drops, Giddy won't have the time to be able to retrieve that case. He sees the head of Hot and Cold, and he'll mag dump Hacker now getting one. He's all on his own, and he's taken care of by Gunner, who appeared to get the final 2 kills. And despite Cloud9's aggression at the tail end of that first half carrying over to the side swap, it's all but gone. M80 is back in full control of this matchup, and they find themselves on match point.
Some goofy deaths on console today, Parker. I don't know what's in the air down there in, I think it's Ivory Coast, but regardless, that's some strange deaths, and the Goyo canister will be another one of them. I'd expect a Blackbeard on the attack, given how good Packer was in that first round and how strong of an operator it is. It'll be Mute for defense. I didn't make a prediction, but I wouldn't have gone with Mute, I'll be honest with you. Seen a lot of play so far, though, from M80, and so Cloud9 are going to have to find some other way for these next 3 rounds to make things happen without that BB. The only time they've won an attack in this game was when they were able to abuse that Blackbeard on Packer. In the 2v3, I actually thought that was kind of winnable. It came very, very close. Helped out that Packer got the first pick in that back and forth, but ultimately positioning was better for M80. They played it quite passive. They played it how they should once they got that pick, so they were in a good spot. It is not easy to win 3 attacks in a row on Consulate.
I mean, it's hard to do it as attackers, and I mean, Cloud9 showed some brilliance on that first attack, and it looked like it would carry over in the second. They lost a stunning round, and now they are unfortunately discovering what most teams that attack on Consulate have to deal with, which is all the misery that comes from getting in the building, droning things out, fighting very tight, very odd angles. This one right here, this little elbow that's over by yellow, there's no soft walls. You're basically just taking dry engagements because you can't shoot through them to scare off your opponent. Oh my. That was double spawn peaks from M80, by the way. Both Gavin and Hot and Cold were looking for an early pick. Packer takes some damage, but he gets the kill. And immediately says, you did that to me in scrims. So he knows exactly what Gavin was ready for.
Drone activated.
He's in his head, Parker. He's in his head. Packer, he never forgets. One of the smartest players that we have in the North America League. Again, one of those kind of young captains that has been leading multiple different teams throughout his career. Has been bouncing around a lot. Hopefully has found a more consistent home on Cloud9. Oof. Good entry denied by Diffuser, shutting things down. Kobe's just trying to get into the bomb site.
This is where things are going to slow down for both of these teams. Logic bombs have finished ringing off. What a high-value operator to take off the board on the side of Cloud9. No more Dokkaebi. Main nuisance op, though Deimos is still very much in play, and with no Mute on the board, there is no escape whatsoever from those death marks. Cloud9 bans the Mute and then immediately starts running Dokkaebi and the Deimos. That's a great call, and that's exactly why you ban that operator, to take advantage of what's missing from the defender lineup.
That's a great point. Silent hunting these top floor players as well. It was Gunner and Kino. It's just Kino now who's playing just above the hatch. Second pick for Packer off cam. He's really been racking him up. Kino is likely just to retreat. I don't think he's going to play his life. Yeah, he drops the hatch now, and he will get back towards the site. Man advantage, 65 seconds on the clock for Cloud9 and full top floor control. It doesn't get a lot better than that. One Nitro on Kino could throw a wrench into that plan, but they know exactly where he's at. He's going to have a tough time using that Nitro cell.
Well, it sounded like Gunner got dropped by one of those EDDs, by the way. I heard it go off, and then Gunner just was gone. I wonder if it was a battle of engagements with Packer. I'm not really sure. I'd love to see a replay on that. Top floor control for Cloud9 is we hit very close to where the action will begin. Diffuser hunted down by this death mark. Hot and Cold out dueling one as Diffuser's taken down by Silent. He was the one being watched. Now it's Kino and Hot and Cold just to try to hang on for dear life. It's not out of the question that they win. It's a 2v3 that favors Cloud9. It's the end of the match if M80 prevails. Nice kill by Hot and Cold. Now he'll be pinged by the Deimos, firing away, but he needs to keep himself on the move to positions where that Deimos cannot easily target you. Kino's last one standing. Both players will drop. Giddy taking damage from the goo mine. Silent going for the plant. Kino Nitro sells out, and Giddy with great coverage. These two teams go into war with one another. Another round is necessary. M80 will still sit on match point, but Cloud9 are desperate to close the gap.
Yeah, big play by Giddy there at the end. I don't know if that nitro would have hit, but it was very low HP on the planter, so it would have been close, even if it was somewhat far away from where that plant was going down. Giddy was a huge player, a difference maker for Cloud9 yesterday. Went 13-6 in their opening matchup. Didn't have the best reload, was -6 overall at that last LAN event, but has really stood up since coming back to the North America League. I thought for sure Hot and Cold was going to end this game for M80 as he got that vertical pick from down below and then a second one from inside the site, but couldn't quite find the last couple of frags that he needed to help his team. M80 have done a weirdly good job this game, both on attack and defense, of getting kills on that top floor whilst playing down below. It's usually a really tough angle to be below somebody and taking a gunfight with them, but M80 have done it quite nicely, both on that piano attack and then on the piano defense. Still isn't going to be an easy comeback for Cloud9, but one round start is how it starts.
Yeah, every comeback needs a first round, and I mean, Cloud9 have not necessarily played the style of attack where some of these rounds could have broken in their favor. There's one obviously that jumps to mind, which is the one where we got that hot and cold clip where he shook his head that probably should have gone their way, especially with the advantage they had early on, but doesn't really matter. I mean, the game that we just had, SSG was up in what, a 5v2, and they still lost the round. Crazy things do happen. When clutches like that transpire, usually you need to make some serious mistakes when you have the majority numbers. Neither of these teams are above making mistakes. They will happen. What we've seen so far is both of these teams workshopping problems while the match has been going on. M80 has been a little bit more adept at it, but Cloud9's shown some brilliance as well. That's a bit of a small problem for M80 as Gavin disconnects with 2 minutes still left on the clock. Unsure of what happened, but M80 will now play down one operator. I did not get a good look at what operator Gavin was before he left. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, it was a Legion, which would be super helpful to stop Packer from getting in on top yellow. That is a gift to Cloud9 when they desperately needed it.
And a repel will go in. Goyo canister pops and the gas will keep Packer at bay. So even if they are down in players, M80 is doing a pretty superb job at keeping Cloud9 from taking up more space. Glaz, that oppressive operator that we talked about, finds Hot and Cold tucked into the corner. The problem is that when you're in the smoke, if you move too much, you lose your ability to see through the smoke. Silent had that exact issue befall him. He's trapped inside a bathroom with the Finca next to him. This is an unpredictable entry from Cloud9, but they want to take advantage of the advantage that they have in numbers.
This is really good smoke play coming out from Kino, of course, unbanned now. Silent continues to frag, and the SMG-11 firing off, but he's all alone and can't win the round. Another one from Cloud9. I thought this was going to slow down a bit, Parker, as they had to jump back out the window for the plant, but no. Everything just devolved in the last couple seconds as there was no way that just on the smoke, Kino was going to be able to do enough to repel that push in. Nice recognition from Cloud9 to just see that there was a free open bomb site. Toxic Babes were going out. Let's go take those gunfights, and they all went their way.
Yeah, I mean, I assume we'll have a brief pause here as they get Gavin back into the lobby. I'm not exactly sure what occurred. I don't know why he crashed. Unfortunately, it's really quite terrible timing for it to happen. But I mean, that's how she goes sometimes. That's one of the follies of it being an online league, is that sometimes when you're playing online, there are problems that are outside of your control. It's a devastating round for it to happen on, because M80 very easily could have won that round with a Legion on the board. It was the operator that you even noted was what Gavin was playing. You look at the operator lineup, you throw goo mines to stop the advance over towards yellow, maybe one over towards bathroom, and you've completely negated the Monty's ability to post up near the defuse kit or even get the defuse kit down. Smoke was doing quite well, which was Kino's role, but I mean, you've only got those 3 canisters. Once they're gone, and Cloud9, to their credit, immediately picked up the pace when Gavin was disconnected from the lobby, and that's the right call to make. You can get mad about it as much as you want, but Cloud9 said, hey, that guy's gone. Let's push on in. Whether they knew what operator he was or wasn't is a question that would have to be asked post-game, but they read into it correctly, and they won the round off of it.
I'm sure a very tense technical pause. Of course, they cannot discuss the game at this point, but they can sit in their thoughts, and usually the admins are fine if they talk about things unrelated to the game, especially about getting Gavin back into things. Looks like we do have his cam now. I don't believe we had that initially, so this is good signs of progress. Sometimes these DCs, they happen, man. I mean, remember just yesterday, JJ Blast had like a completely new error, which forced him to disconnect in a pivotal round as well. So I often say in traditional sports, they've got bad referee calls, and then in esports, we've got tech problems. There's always something that throws a wrench into the plan, but that's esports. You know, that stuff's going to have to happen, and they'll battle through it. I will say we've had back-to-back attacking round wins from Cloud9, which means that now every single bomb site will be unlocked for this 12th and final round of regulation. Anticipate that M80 will then take that down to the bottom floor, which is the bomb site that is just unlocked. It was a win for them back in round number 9, but it was not decisive. Remember, it ended up in that hot and cold 1v1. That's where they got the Goyo canister kill onto Kobe. It was a 3v3 that could have easily gone the way of Cloud9 had things turned differently. So it wasn't a decisive round win. It feels like the door is starting to open for Cloud9.
Just waiting on updates as to everybody getting back in the lobby. I assume it will be pretty quick. Haven't had any word that we need to go to a dedicated break, so I imagine everything is going on. And what you pointed out about his cam being back up makes an awful lot of sense. While we're waiting here, let's talk a little bit about the standings. There will be a recap at the end of the show, but spoilers, obviously, as we have to talk about today's results. So if you don't want previous matches that you may not have tuned into spoiled, then cover your ears for, I don't know, probably until we're back in the action, just to be safe. There are still 2 teams that are without a point. Both Team Cruelty and Orgless sit at the bottom of the standings. Wildcard and Envy are down there as well. Wildcard picking up 1 point going to OT. Envy also getting 1 point for going to OT. That was our first match of the day where Envy kind of surprised us by beating Shopify Rebellion in that final round, going to OT, or the second final round going to OT, but then ultimately not gaining a single round in overtime, but they still pick up 1 point. Our second match of the day was OXG versus Cruelty, and that's why Cruelty still sits with 2 losses. They haven't been able to win a round. They picked up 3 rounds in their first match against Space Station, 4 against OXG. Our third match of the day today was Dark Zero versus Orgless, and DZ sits alone in first place. Now, if M80 wins in regulation, then they can go up to first place. It will depend on round differential. Cloud9 also sit at 3 points, but they can't win in regulation as it's M80 sitting on match point already. So the standings look like Dark Zero and Shopify Rebellion 1 and 2. Space Station third, M80, Cloud9, and OXG are the top 6 teams at the moment. And despite their victory in overtime today over Space Station Gaming, Wildcard still sits outside of the playoff picture in 7th place. We're out of action until next Thursday when we come back and start off the show with Envy versus OXG.
In the meantime, though, while the NA League is out of action, there's the South American League going on this Saturday and Sunday, and then I believe the European League is going on Monday and Tuesday next week. And then APAC, I have not memorized the schedule, but it is also ongoing on various days, and I believe in your ability to find the days for those as well. So loads of Siege that gets played while these stages are in regular season. You know, we get games going almost every single day at a high level of play, which is very, very fun. I don't know about you, Parker, but I will be live doing some co-streaming over the next couple of days for both South America and Europe. So I'm going to make sure I catch all the games that I can.
I mean, I would like to co-stream. It just depends on my own availability. I know that I will be working some South American League dates that I'm reasonably certain you will be working as well. It's not going to be this weekend, though. My South American League Tour of Duty begins on June 28th and then runs through the latter weeks of July. We will be having an awful lot of Rainbow Six Siege, so if you like watching this game, good news, we've got plenty for you. If you hate watching this game, what are you doing here, is the question that I have to ask. Either way, how does this final round play out? Gavin is back in, presumably no crashing, presumably no issues. He's going to play on that Fenrir. Defenders cannot repick, attackers can, and Cloud9 will spend the next 20 seconds figuring out the defenders, then make swaps where necessary and where they feel is most optimal.
Yeah, I think in this last round, pay close attention to the opening pick. Back in Rio de Janeiro, M80 had a 94% defensive conversion. That means when they got the opening pick on defense, they had a 94% win rate. So far through this game on defense, they've only gotten a single opening pick, and that was round number 9 when Gunnar was able to get it up against Silent on the basement. So they have not chosen to return to the basement as I thought they might. They will try the top floor after losing it again in round number 11. Both these teams will be very much aware of how important that first frag is, so everybody will be very careful not to give it up unless it's a very good reason.
C9 in quickly yet again. Kobe will immediately go on to drone as he had figured out that Visa was relatively clear, and now just above that, Packer will take up space inside of admin. As he goes to drone and finds that though there are reinforcements, there's nobody actively holding this. So he should be able to swing on in, but he has to be wary of those kill holes. First line of defense appears to be Gavin. But after getting droned out, he's done the smart thing and he's completely backed away. They've thrown around the Legion hot and cold so that he'll be able to generate those goo mines as the time goes on and do maximum damage, trying to slow down these C9 players.
Yeah, they're going for this kind of bottom floor up spiral and then also in through admin push that we've seen a couple of times throughout the day today on various teams. It's going to be really powerful. It means you don't have a lot of bodies to pressure the other side of the map over towards CEO, but that's okay. If you get some good crossfires up towards spiral, it can make the life of that player really difficult. Gavin currently holding up top spiral, and I think he's got hot and cold not too far away as well. Dream actually opened the balcony breach too, so another dimension to this push if they want it. Packer on the shield will kind of be the guy to watch to open things up and then eventually go for a plant once they get past all these toxic fades and Goyo canisters.
Kobe hasn't used his first death mark yet. It's time with 1 minute to go, and he will track the smoke of Kino, who's now on the move. A lot of teams waiting until the final moments of the round to use those death marks, but if you gamble on it being done in a post plant, the problem is that if you don't make it there, well, it doesn't end up being particularly beneficial. Speaking of a post plant, you get him. Oh, Gunnar, you cannot lose those. He completely bottles it as Packer gets the diffuser down. A big blunder from M80. Giddy dies, and so too does Silent before he trades one out. A 3v3. Now Dream falls. Packer and Kobe the last two remaining. 3 still alive for M80, and they're looking to get on that case, but they don't have information as these last two players. The Monty is completely repositioned. 2 death marks remain for Kobe. He could use one right now, but isn't because, smartly, he gives himself away. What a post plant from M80, and they have time to hop on the kits. They sweep through Cloud9, and after a small delay, it's M80 to collect all 3 points with a regulation victory.
Even without the opening pick, and even with letting the plant go down 5v5, somehow they win that post plant. Kobe from below should have been a free win, but diffuser out-duels him, gets him on a really weird timing, and Kobe can't make it happen. Kino salutes to end out the game, and that's just a beautiful play coming out from M80 when the pressure would have been the highest. Especially from Kino, man. You were a little worried after that plant didn't get denied. The Toxic Babe didn't come out, but it didn't matter.
That's it for our matches today, and what a day it was of unpredictable games. We'll take you through the post-match in just a few moments. Sit tight.
Yeah, he's gonna be below. Can you fight below soon?
Yeah, can you guys are ready?
Hey,
You start ready?
He's right, on body. I'm ping, unextended.
I got him.
Fucking go!
Oh, my ears, bro. My ears, bro. Chill.
No, fuck these guys!
Wait. I got something for us.
Dude, I literally lit up that mountain so much. If I don't have that 312 in either gun, he's dead.
Okay, the vibes are vibing. Great song to be played. But M80, I mean, coming into this, right, we said it, a bit of a grudge match coming through. And, you know, I mean, Gunnar really proving it.
M80 still owns them. I mean, that's crystal clear. I mean, that last moment that we just saw in that winning round, I mean, just Kobilax, you had the angle. You could have pushed it to a match point. You just got so overzealous there. But, I mean, it was a good slugfest, to say the least.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you're Cloud9, you have to be happy about that. I mean, if we look at the run from Reload into this week, obviously a loss is a loss. But at the end of the day, there was a lot of improvement. Very impressed, especially with how well M80 has been playing. For Cloud9 to say that they were able to go toe-to-toe with them and pick up a win yesterday, obviously, you're in a good sitting going into week 2. There's a lot of improvement that still needs to be done. But at the end of the day, their preparation was still pretty good. Little small hiccups here and there.
Both teams had hiccups.
Like, of course, but M80 came out on top.
And you're talking about that final round, which then specifically also qualifies for the Black Light detail, because that was game defining.
Yeah, this definitely has to be the detail in this last round. I mean, again, pressure's super high for everyone here. Either on one side you want to close it out, then on the other you want to push it to one more round. And I mean, you have it here, Kobilax. It's in your grasp. You get that kill, you hold that angle, you have the below pressure to just apply for the person defusing here, and you just get too overzealous. I mean, he's a newer player. He's a rookie. I can understand being in that situation. There's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of intensity going on. You mess up, that's it, and that's kind of just what unfolded.
Yeah, and we have the interview ready as well with Gunnar from M80. Congratulations. A win on the board, a solid performance once again from you guys. What's it like behind the scenes when it comes to staying more consistent, being able to bring these wins back to back for the M80 roster?
I mean, just I guess the amount of work we put in. Everyone's pretty dedicated to what we have going on here. We just want to win, so we're doing everything we can to win. Honestly, with Reload and so far, like, it's been good. Like, obviously, we went out of Reload. Should have gambled or should have did bullets better. But I mean, I'm happy with where we're at as a team, and I think everyone else is too.
Right. I mean, you guys are on a good track, and obviously we talked about it at the start of the game that, you know, we saw the Fabian as daddy thing, and we were talking about how maybe you guys were the most enjoyable team Fabian has been able to coach. And now that you guys are running double scrims from what he was saying, how has that experience as you as a player seen? Because I'm assuming you have watched Fabian throughout his career. So now that he's your coach, you get to see him in a new light. How has that impacted you personally, and that you feel that he joins in the team as a community?
I mean, I love Fabian to death. Definitely one of the best coaches I've ever had. I do want to put on the record, though. We did double scrim before Fabian. I was never a single scrim warrior. But what Fabian brought to this team was VOD reviews, theory sessions, all the boring outside stuff that no one wants to really do. We do a ton of it. And it takes a long time. But we were double scrimming. I just want everyone to know we were putting some work.
Yeah, putting in the
but
work.
He definitely brought in a ton more.
I mean, you're putting the work and it's paying off. So I guess my final question for you would be, when it comes to next week and just the rest of the NAL, like, what has been your main takeaway for these 2 match days?
Honestly, our, I guess, composure, like today on defense of cons, like, I guess in the back of your mind, you should be winning defenses. It's a better side of the map, and when we were kind of letting them slip, I mean, they were touched by the hand of God. They had a Kino masterclass with, you know, to get in the corner, and then they have Gavin, and we have a perfect setup for it. Gone, power flicker. And so, like, I guess moments like that where you lose rounds like that back to back, it can be demoralizing, but I mean, we went straight back into it with a level head. 5v5 retake and got it done.
You did, and with that you get some points on the board as well, which is great for your standings, and you'll be back again next week, so thank you so much for your time. Congrats once again.
Thank you.
And we'll see you around. All right, let's have a look at where today has led us, because we did have 5 best of ones, some of them actually going to overtime, specifically that first game with Shopify, and that was our first overtime as well here at the NAL. 8-6 to start things off.
I think today definitely didn't disappoint, where you could say yesterday was a little disappointing. There was a lot more to take from in terms of teams just needing to improve. And then going in today, I mean, all the games were relatively close. We saw 2 overtimes, and like you were talking about, that first game going the distance, not the full distance, but still being pushed to an overtime. Shopify being definitely tested compared to their first game yesterday. But overall, for me, I thought the day was great.
No, the day was phenomenal, and looking at all the standings after today, Envy being that close in respect to Shopify Rebellion with that 8-6, I mean, that speaks volumes about Envy qualifying from the T2 level, coming into the NAL, and outperforming expectations. Obviously, that's how important Element is for you. You know, he gets to train lower tier players to get up there. But at the end of the day, every single game, I mean, Wildcard bouncing back against SSG, it was a really exciting day.
Yeah, or maybe it just speaks volumes to Shopify and them not necessarily being as locked in as we expect them to be. But with this second game they completed, we actually have a little bit more of a move in the standings. It's really just Orgless and Team Cruelty that are struggling to get themselves on the board. But again, this is only, I mean, it is 5 weeks in total, you know, not even, and you want to get into those playoffs. You want to make sure you get as many points as possible. So got to hit the ground running. And for M80, DZ, and even Shopify, they've done just that.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this right now, I mean, there's not really too much to go off of outside of, obviously, there's some teams winning, some teams losing. This really isn't something I'm paying attention too much until we start to get probably into that third week. That's when we really will see these points really play into a factor and where these teams are most likely going to shape up once we get into those last 2 weeks.
Yeah, everything matters, especially when it comes to making it to the next phase and being in that top 6 at first. You know, you never want to leave it towards the end to stress where you're in standings. You know, you need another team to win for you to be able to bump somebody out. And, you know, it's a stressful situation then. So hopefully teams can accumulate a couple more points now as the weeks go by, especially the teams at the bottom.
Yeah, and we have more games coming your way. Actually, surprise, because obviously next week, 2 more play days. Starting off with the first day, OXG, Envy, C9, SSG, Wildcard, Shopify. I think DZ M80, for me at least, that's probably going to be a pretty close match that I'm looking forward to. And we're ending the day with Orgless against Cruelty. Maybe the closest matchup we have of the day.
Yeah, I already know Lax is looking at the Cruelty Orgless game. Obviously, both teams currently at the bottom.
He's literally crying, wiping tears right now.
Both teams at the bottom right now. One of them is going to have to win. But, you know, when you talk about the underdog game for sure, but also, yeah, DZ, M80. 2 of the top teams right now in the league, obviously. So
it goes OT, then both teams get a point.
That's true.
That's
so,
one
you
way to
know.
think of it.
I mean, I'm looking forward to actually the Oxygen versus Envy. I think Oxygen showed a lot more life today that we were expecting out of them. But again, that was on a very default map. So I actually want to see them be a little more vibrant in terms of what they can bring to the table. But then even for Envy's sake, I mean, we obviously saw what they put up against Shopify today. So I am hoping, again, in terms of consistency for both these teams and Identity Crisis on the other, should be a good match.
It should be. And those are the matches that we are going to be looking at next week. As for now, we are done and dusted. First week of the NAL. First week of you guys seeing CJX being played on the regional league stage. There is more regions happening. We're back next week. Drop a follow. We'll see you then and take care.